Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So, ma'am, let's get into straight and understand what is Poshan Abhiyan all about.
Well, POSHAN Abhiyan is a national nutrition mission launched by the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in the year 2017. The intention is to tackle the malnutrition problem that India is facing at that time. So this is all about managing malnutrition in the country. That is National Nutrition Mission, POSHAN Abhiyan.
The theme for National Nutrition Week this year has been feeding smart right from the start. So, how is Poshan Abhiyan implementing this?
Well, let me start right at the beginning. You would perhaps be interested to know why the Prime Minister actually thought of POSHAN Abhiyan. Well, as you remember, when he became the Prime Minister in the year 2014, there was a certain amount of baggage being inherited. And at that time, when the landscape looked quite scary, in the sense that 49% of the children were stunted. About 50% of women were found to be anemic in the entire country. And just 49% of women were breastfeeding their children. Just imagine, just 49% of women were breastfeeding their children. And globally, India was ranked at 115th. It occupied 115th place when 157 countries were evaluated on the Human Development Index. I think these things bothered the Prime Minister quite a bit. The scenario, the human capital value, etc. And he also perhaps would have thought that India is a country with its assets basically revolving around human capital assets. We are not Africa with mineral wealth, nor are we an Australia with geothermal energy. What we have, the asset class that we have is human beings. And so I think our Prime Minister felt very much for the status of health at the point in time and came out with this nutrition mission. He also had this knowledge that health and nutrition were pretty much neglected. If you had seen the investments in the last 40 or 60 years, they were minuscule. So he felt the need for National Nutrition Mission, and he launched it in the year 2017 with a whopping investment of more than 2 lakh crores.
That would have had an impact. Are there any figures or statistics to show what kind of impact it has had in the past since the mission started?
You're asking me about the figures?
Yes.
Well, as I said, initially, the stunting was very high to the extent of 48-49%, but now we can categorically say the stunting has come down just in a few years to almost 38%. Given the vastness of our country, it's quite a bit of an achievement. But more importantly, you'd like to know that the systems and processes are very much in place. As you would understand, before we can show results, we need to streamline the systems and processes. That's exactly what our government went about doing. You would also be interested in knowing how different is our program when compared to the earlier programs launched by UPA, etc. UPA did launch a nutrition program that is called ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme, where children were given food, and there's a bit of a focus on that, and midday meal scheme was also introduced. But it was done pretty much in a very disconnected fashion, and we felt that the wholesome approach was missing. And just to give an example, how we looked at tackling the nutrition problem in the country, we looked at it from a very holistic perspective. We had an eagle's eye. We went right, stepped out of the zone and started looking at how things will have to be shaped. I'll give an example. Supposing I invite you home, I give you a very nourishing meal, completely balancing carbohydrates, proteins, everything. But along with that, I give you a glass of dirty water, contaminated water with bacteria, viruses, etc. So have I fed you well? You would say no, right? So that's exactly what we saw. We said it's important to give good nutrition to women and children, but at the same time, it's important to ensure good water supply. So the Jal Shakti ministry started giving water to every household, clean drinking potable water to every household. And then the sanitation part, again, unhygienic conditions. India has always been a victim of infectious diseases. And when you have infection flaring up in your body, the kind of nutrition that you get will be certainly not utilized well by the body. So the sanitation program was kicked off parallelly. Another interesting thing, we noticed that women were getting married, in India, obviously, they were being married off at a younger age, like 18. And we realized that when a body of a woman is not fully mature, biologically, physiologically, she's also anemic. She's giving birth to low birth weight children, and they were also suffering from diarrheal deaths, and infant mortality was high. So if you have noticed that we have put a proposal to increase the age of marriage from 18 to 21. So you could say that our strategy is multi-pronged. Another interesting thing is we noticed that studies have categorically proved that children were succumbing to stunting and wastage if the mother is not educated. So we introduced the Beti Padhao program, to educate women. Then another interesting thing, perhaps nobody would have thought of it, is this 1,000-day program. This 1,000-day program is very interesting. It covers the entire period from a woman when she gets pregnant, the 9 months, then till up to the second birthday of a child. Because we know that the first 2 years, almost 85% of the brain development takes place. And at that time, if the child is deprived of good nutrition, then he is done for life. So this 1,000-day focus has been fantastic. Another interesting thing that Prime Minister thought of is to give 6,000 rupees for nutritional support for pregnant women and lactating mothers. The last and the most important thing that we have done is to look very seriously at fortifying grains. So we are looking at the golden rice, fortifying with iron. We are looking at wheat, fortifying with minerals. So every grain, right at the production, we're trying to fortify it. I remember those days when I used to really look longingly at the Rice Research Institute in Philippines, thinking that, it's such a great idea to catch at the source and rather than supplementation, give them fortified food. So our government is doing that. Now this is multi-pronged. Interestingly, if you have seen, many ministries are involved in this. It's not just Women and Child Welfare Ministry, but you have the Ministry of Water Supply, you have the Ministry of Housing, you have the Ministry of Health, you have Ministry of Panchayat Raj. Practically everything is being brought together. We have created interministerial task forces also. Now, even as we speak, now this Nutrition Week and Nutrition Month is going on. Several activities are taking place all across the country. And you'd be interested to know that several crores have been engaged in discussions on nutrition and better nutrition and bioavailability of nutrients, etc. And you'd be surprised to know 36 million activities have been done since the launch. Just imagine the number of things that have been done. 36 million have been done. So this is a kind of attention and focus that this government is giving. So to answer your question on the progress, the outcome will be seen a little later, but you would see the systems and processes already being in place. That is most important. As a person from the army, you would know that the foundational training is what is really required. So we are putting our people in order, we are getting our systems in place, we are creating committees, and we are looking at the monitoring and evaluation outcomes using technology.
So, schemes are great, but then one of the important things, and we always found this in the past as well, that the schemes which are meant for the poor or the needy or the people whom it's supposed to reach,
Right.
doesn't happen. What mechanism is in place to monitor it? that all the programs that has been tied into into this nutrition, the need for nutrition or balanced diet, that they are actually been implemented on the ground? Is there what kind of mechanism do you?
Yes. So we are working very closely. If you have noticed with the earlier, well, let me say the beauty of how we work. Let me just say how the beauty of how we work is we don't dismantle what has been put in place earlier, like the ASHA workers, the Anganwadi workers, the self-help groups. They're all very much in place, and you have a very strong, robust database on the BPL families. You know who requires what at this point in time, and the systems and processes have been worked out quite well, that the beneficiary profiling is done very well. Lactating and pregnant pregnant women and lactating mothers can easily be identified when you have connect with the primary health group, the primary health centers, and also hospitals. So it's pretty much in place. What is tricky, I want to tell you now, the extremely tricky part is the study shows that malnutrition is very prevalent. Contrary to your understanding and mine, it's not in the rural areas. It's in the urban areas. The urban centers that are thriving in prosperity seem to be mired in this malnutrition problem.
And is it something to do with the diet habits, new diet habits that we have acquired?
Yes.
The Subways of the world, McDonald's of the world?
Absolutely. So now today we find people, there are two important things we need to now see very carefully from the National Nutrition Mission perspective. One is the urban rich. They are overfed and malnourished. So they are eating well, but they're malnourished. They are overfed. Now, why is that happening? That's happening because of, let's say, you understand the kind of marketing that foreign companies do. So obviously, on your breakfast table, you find, instead of a ragi roti, you will find maybe cornflakes. So you get attracted to quinoa, which you have to get from some Brazil, South American countries. You get attracted to whey protein. Greek yogurt is being bought in large numbers. So all of them are being branded and brandished as nourishment. So the urban youth is, paradoxically getting extremely attracted. Now, I have personally seen a few things. If you try to have a protein-rich drink like sattu after a gym workout, you will be laughed at, because people think that it's very stylish to drink a whey protein. Now, you try to ask for, let's say, a curd rice in a restaurant. They look down upon you, or perhaps maybe really make fun of you. But what is curd rice? Curd rice has been now unanimously proved to be one good nutritional supplement with tryptophan in it. Tryptophan, doctors have told me, that is not available in that particular form anywhere in any ingredient other than in Tair Sadam, which is nothing but curd rice. Now try asking for it. People still laugh at you. So this kind of food shaming is happening in a very big way. If you ask for ghee, people will again look at you. But you ask for clarified butter, they're happy. It's the same thing, isn't it? So you eat makhana pops instead of corn pops. So people just don't understand the value. That is the urban psyche. The sad and the unfortunate thing I want to say at this time, it is not the urban rich, but it's the urban poor from the slums who have become enslaved to this kind of eating. For instance, my domestic maid has a daughter who weighs about 38 kgs, that's all. She is married for 4 years. She aspires to have a child. And what are her food habits? She eats Maggi in the morning, and in the night, she eats potato chips, and she wants only polished rice. And her mother tells me that she ridicules her mother when she has hand-pounded rice, which is rich in vitamin B.
So how do we change this mindset?
Yes.
Changing the mindset, eating habits, as you say, the urban poor, let's say even the urban rich, or the middle class, is that creating that awareness among the urban population? Is that also part of the mission?
Yes. So, as I said earlier, it's a multi-pronged approach. So, our Prime Minister believes in behavior change. If you had noticed Swachh Bharat, earlier any kind of programs have failed, but Swachh Bharat succeeded because he brought in a huge component of, let's say, the softer aspects, not just building toilets, but telling people the relevance and the value of using toilets. So behavior change is what has been taken very seriously, and they have allocated funds for it. And this is exactly where perhaps your startups can come and start looking at what can they do in this. Now, when I said the outlays are very big for this particular program, there's a substantial outlay for behavior change, which means running campaigns, bringing IEC protocols, using technology, like, so deploying people, a whole bunch of things can be achieved if this particular thing is studied well. So a startup, there are a whole lot of opportunities for startups. What they have to do is they have to understand the domain. They have to understand India. They have to understand behavior, understand mindsets, look at products. What stops them from coming out with makhana? Makhana pops are so popular. One example I'd like to give you at this point in time is banana chips. Your startups can come out with a huge factory of banana chips. You know why? For the simple reason that people love chips. Potato chips are quite popular, but they have not really any value. Banana chips have enormous value. You know why? Banana chips have something called resistant starch. Resistant starch is being sold in packets as medicine. Now, when I investigated what is this resistant starch, it just goes into your stomach and then it creates good bacteria. It's called microbiome is managed very well in the gut. But why should it be sold as medicine? Well, you can actually eat it in a raw form. You can cook it. You can make chips out of it. You can make strips out of it. You can make it, you can do wonders with it. So your startups have to start thinking about looking at things differently. Now, when I travel to Manila, when I travel to any of these countries, you find in your hotel room, you find coconut strips, everything with coconut. Coconut is just extremely invaluable food. So let them come out with an array of opportunities, products for a nutrition supplementation.
So what you're saying is startups should explore the traditional food and see how it fits into the whole narrative of POSHAN Abhiyan, where traditional food can be used to supplement or ensure that the right amount of nutrition.
Absolutely, there are two things. One is the kind of soul satisfaction they get when they see they're actually contributing as social entrepreneurs, not as just a Coke factory or a Pepsi. You could make money, but where is the soul satisfaction? But here, when you come out with a product, you are serving the population, you're fulfilling the needs of the country, you're aligning with the vision of your own prime minister, you're making your top line and bottom line look so good. There are venture capitalists wanting to invest. There are angels already eyeing the market of nutrition, because nutraceuticals has been quite popular. There's an entire food chain. There's a huge, huge opportunity. Let me give one example. I have always felt that millets are very, 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 very nutritious, but millets have been relegated to some crazy level. People can actually start using millets. They can make biscuits out of them. They can make cakes and bakes out of them. They can partner with 5-star hotels and work with the chefs to come out with various, flavors and shapes and looks and sizes. So you can storm the market if you are innovative. So it's all about how you see a product, how you make a product, how you brand the product, and how you appeal to various segments of society. If you want to make a millet look cool, sexy, then use the wherewithal that you have. Then you can attack the people who live in slums but still run after Maggies, etc. You have to have a different strategy to reach out to them. How did the shampoo packet, HLL, how did it penetrate? They have had their strategies. So it's very important. Startups can do a whole bunch of things in this area.
Wouldn't it be easier if I had the right nutrition within Maggie, if more people are eating Maggie?
Yes, why not? So you can, I'll tell you what you can do. You can, instead of using refined maida, you can think of fortified rice. Let's say brown rice Maggi, and you can add maybe mm, some vegetables that are organically grown, and superfoods can be added to that. So you are still not touching, but Maggi company will sue you. They have to be, as I said, they have to be very smart in coming out with names, in appeal, visual appeal, palette appeal, everything. It's an
I
interesting
think
project for
startups.
startups.
I think startups entrepreneurs are already on that path. They're trying to bring in traditional food into the supply chain. Let's look into what kind of what role technology has or can play in making the Poshan Abhiyan successful. And is there a role for startups in it?
See, startups, as I said, startups can look at products. Startups can look at software aspects of campaign running. Startups can also deploy technologies. You know, maybe they can develop a product that monitors how children have gained weight after being given certain fortified food, like a breakfast in the morning. So they can come out with monitoring and evaluation tools using their technology. They can, nowadays I see AI being used in right from farming to everything. So AI can be used. Machine learning is extremely important in understanding how repetitively you have to, gather data and then refine the whole process and deliver value. The dashboards that the country has to see can be made by these people. Big data scientists can really crunch enormous data that is coming from all parts. As I said, 36 million activities have been done. We really don't know how people have used the inputs given by, let's say, the minister Smriti Irani or other people who are working. We don't know. So let them collect the data. They can crunch the data. They can create dashboards for the government, and they can be paid for it because there's already an outlay for it. So startups will have to have multiple streams of revenue. One is from the government, the other could be from the private sector, and they need to work out, they need to really understand the domain first and do their homework in terms of what could be a service, what could be a product, what could be an innovation.
Coming to last what we witnessed in the last 18 months, due to Corona, pretty much everything got impacted. I'm sure Poshan Abhiyan mission itself must have been taken some beating. What did government do to overcome this challenge?
It was one of the very challenging things that we had, because even Asha workers, Anganwadi workers were not able to reach their clients, or their people who they were dealing with. So that has been a challenge, but we are trying to now double the efforts in the coming few months. And we right now, it looks like we are on track, because again, I see enormous amount of energy and opportunity, and the amount of work that is already being put in. So women know what they have to eat. Iron fortification is happening. Lactating mothers are getting their money. The money dispersal has not stopped because it's bank transfers. Nothing has happened. So nothing really affected that. So a lot of activities have happened. Maybe around 30 to 40% there was a decline because of lack of physical movement by some of the suppliers. Otherwise, it's very much in place. And I also think that, given our country and our rich history, we were the people who have given transdermal absorption to the world. We are the people who've given Agnihotra farming to the world. We will never give up, because there's a small viral infection that is, depressing us. So there are people who are working on urban gardens, the people who are making natural forests. Everything is a part of this program in a very big way.
Finally, coming to your role, as a somebody who's watching this Abhiyan very closely, You're also head of the research, policy research. Uh, how are you involved, or you're going to be involved with this program?
See, first of all, I have enormous interest in the health segment. So when they gave me this position as national in charge for policy and research, I couldn't have been more happier, because it is an all-encompassing role, taking women, which is 50% of the population of the country, which is like 500 million people, have to be their issues have to be understood, right from the smallest of things like health requirements to their legal and physical security. So a whole bunch of activities are there. But what primarily interested me is health, and of course the nutrition part. Just to tell you a personal experience, when I was a student, I went to Nimhans in Bangalore as a project on a project, and I saw two young girls there. They were twins, and they were admitted. They were inpatients there. They had schizophrenia, and both of them were like 18 years old. And it really shocked me. I was like around 23, 24. I just was going out on a scholarship to the US, and I wanted to learn a bit more about my area, so I went there. It bothered me, and when I asked the doctors, they said they landed there because of malnourishment. The first line of treatment for them was B complex injections. They were victims of anorexia. So that really touched my heart. I couldn't sleep for many days. I mean, if a little bit of malnourishment can push you to the over the edge and make you a schizophrenic, then the problems are right around the corner. So that is one. And I heard later many people, just falling off the chair, breaking their legs, and they are in their early like 20s, etc. So that had enormous impact on me. Now, my aim would be to put pressure and urge, negotiate, whatever, to include nutrition as a subject in the medical studies. Doctors during the course of their MBBS are given a whole bunch of inputs on pharmacology, how to use chemicals, what medicine for what disease, but they have never been given inputs on nutrition. That's why today you go to a doctor, he will perhaps prescribe 10 medicines to you, not telling you that protein is important for your thyroid, or collagen is important for your knee, or maybe vitamin D is important for your happiness. They won't tell you that at all. So this, I think in the long run, I'd like to somehow see that in the curriculum, they incorporate this particular aspect, one subject on nutrition. That's my desire.
Thank you, Ms. Varunagopal, and we wish you, all the very best in your new role as National in Charge of Policy Research, and we hope you make India more stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste.